Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. In today's video, we are going to be talking about this absolutely beautiful philodendron. Now, either this is Philodendron Dark Lord or Philodendron Black Majesty. So I'm a little bit confused with the ID of this plant because it is in a very juvenile form right now and it is very difficult to identify the plant. Even the seller had mentioned the ID incorrectly. It was mentioned as Black Philodendron. So we're not very sure whether it's Dark Lord or Black Majesty. Either ways, the care requirements is going to remain the same for both of the varieties, and we will only get to know once the plant matures, which ideally will take anywhere between a year and a half for the plant to mature, depending upon the season as well, because very soon we are going to get into the winters and the plant's growth is going to slow down, and the next growing season is next summer, which is going to be the next year. So it's going to be a little difficult to identify this plant until then. So that's why I'm not putting up the name on the screen as of now. I'll just put it in the title so that when it grows and I can identify this plant, I will change the title to what the plant is. As of now, I'm a little bit confused between Dark Lord and Black Majesty. So both of the plants have a very similar shape when they are juvenile form, like this sapling. They look very similar, but as and when it starts to grow, we will get to know the difference, because once they grow, once they turn into a mature plant, that is when the leaf structure will change, and that will give us the correct ID of the plant. But as I said, the care requirements are the same, so we will talk about it in detail. Starting off with light, the plant will do very well in indirect bright light. Please do not offer, or please do not put the plant in direct sunlight. That will burn the leaves. You can either offer indirect bright light, dappled sunlight, or filtered light. You can even place it under a green shade cloth. This plant can be grown indoor as well as outdoor. If you're growing it indoor, ensure you're keeping it in a spot where there is a good amount of light without the sun rays directly falling onto the leaves. Now, because this plant is from the genus of Philodendron, you have to ensure that the soil is porous, loose and well draining. The soil should retain a slight amount of moisture but not soggy wet, otherwise that will cause a root rot. The container should have a drain hole so that the excess water can flow out. The soil mix that I've used over here is a mix of coco peat, garden soil and sand. Perlite is optional. If you have perlite, you can definitely add it. I have used this mix because the coco peat is going to retain slight amount of moisture. The garden soil is going to give the basic nutrients, and sand is going to make the soil mix well draining. Now, a lot of people will also tend to use soilless media. That is also one option. Soilless media is basically a mixture of everything that is gritty, like leca, pumice, perlite, peat moss, wood chips or pine bark, even the cocoa chips as well. The only thing that you don't add is soil. Apart from that, you add everything else. But I don't prefer that because my environment is very dry. A soilless media tends to dry faster, which is not very apt for my environment, so I do not use that. Apart from that, it being a little bit expensive. So soilless media is going to work out really well, especially for people who tend to grow their plants indoor. But if you're growing it outdoor and if your environment is very dry, it is going to be a little bit tough because you'll have to frequently check the media if it is moist or not, because as I said, they need a slight amount of moisture. You cannot keep them underwatered, otherwise the plant will get damaged. Now, talking about propagation, as and when the plant will start to grow, it will develop nodes. You can do a cutting, and that's how you propagate it. I'll put the link in the description below. You can check it out. It's the same process of propagating any philodendron. Talking about pest issues, the plant does get affected with spider mites. Mealybugs are a little bit rare as compared to spider mites. So always turn the leaves and check. Once in 2 weeks or once in 3 weeks, you can always check the leaves. If you happen to see any kind of spots on the leaves, that will indicate that there is some kind of infestation. Always turn the leaves and check. If there are spider mites, you will see a lot of these small tiny insects that have created this tiny web. So that indicates that your plant is getting affected with spider mites. So the moment you notice that, go with any organic solution and get rid of them at the early stage. Mealybugs will be very easy to detect on the plant because the entire plant is very dark in color. Even the petioles are very dark, so it's very easy to identify mealybugs, but spider mites will be a little bit difficult, so always do a routine check. Talking about temperature and humidity. These are tropical plants. They prefer a warmer environment and a good amount of humidity. A humidity anywhere above 50 to 60% plus is going to work out really well. Temperature anywhere between 15 degrees Celsius up to 34-35 degrees Celsius is going to work out really well. The growing period is during the summer, so that is when you can add fertilizers. Please don't add fertilizers during the winters, and also reduce your watering depending upon your environment. Fertilizers, you can go with any liquid based fertilizer once in 15 days or once in a month, depending upon how large the plant is and what is the size of the pot that you have. Do not over fertilize the plants. They are not very heavy feeding plants, but yes, mild or a diluted fertilizer, liquid fertilizer once in 15 days is going to work out really well. Now, talking about, is this plant toxic? Yes, this plant is toxic, so ensure you're keeping this plant away from the reach of small children and pets. If the leaves are ingested, it can be quite dangerous, so ensure you're keeping them at a safe distance. Other than that, it's an absolutely easy to grow plant. This is a very small plant. I will show you the images of both Dark Lord as well as the Black Majestic. You will get a fair idea of how the plant tends to look like, because right now it's very difficult to determine what it is because it's still in a very small juvenile form. I wouldn't call it as a seedling, but it is a very small sapling. A long way for it to go. You can see the size of the leaves are very narrow. They will turn broad or they will turn larger, probably 3 to 4 times bigger than what the leaf is right now. So only time will tell us what exact ID it is. But as I said, both of the varieties have the same care requirements what I have mentioned in this video. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.